Pope Francis is making a lot of moves behind the scene, setting things up for a one world government. He's meeting with a lot of different religions behind closed doors, in the wide open, and a lot of these things are moving towards the setting up of the one world government that we know is foretold to us in Revelation 13. And before I get into that information, I want to read this quote by Robert Mueller, the former Assistant Secretary General at the UN. And it's this, quote, "We have brought the world together as far as we can politically. To bring about a true world government, the world must be brought together spiritually. What we need is a united nations of religions." So the people in power and the people working in worldly united organizations such as the United Nations trying to set up one world government, one world currency, one world religion are even mentioning this. Now let's look at some of these things that Pope Francis is doing. First, let's go to what he's done in the wide open. I made a video on this a little while ago. Pope Francis meets with one of the head imams of Sunni Islam, Sheikh Ahmed Al-Tayeb, and they met and they signed a declaration saying that Pope Francis put his signature on a document that said that God created all of the religions out of his wisdom. The New Age, one world type of religion that is going to be set up right before us. All religions are allowed, all religions are in one group, except those who actually follow the Bible for what it actually says and taking it literally. So Pope Francis signs this declaration of peace with this imam, saying that God created all of the religions out of his wisdom. As we know, that's complete nonsense. Nobody who is a follower of Jesus Christ would say that there's any other way to heaven except through Jesus, as what the Bible explicitly says. This person leading, let's see, I have the number pulled up here, 1.2 billion Roman Catholics. That's as of March 14th, 2013. 1.2 billion people saying that there's multiple ways into heaven, that God created all of the religions out of his wisdom. That's completely anti-biblical and completely anti-Christ. Here he is giving the imam a kissy on the lips in front of everybody. Absolutely disgusting. Now let's move on to what just happened recently. Here on March 11, 2019, Pope meets with Mormon leadership in Rome, supposedly to dedicate the temple. There's a few short paragraphs here I'll read. This is from the Vatican City AP. It says, Pope Francis met Saturday, March 9th with the leadership of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormon Church. The first such meeting of its kind, on the eve of the dedication of the church's huge new temple in Rome. The Vatican offered no details of Francis's audience with the church president, Russell Nelson, and other leaders. The Latter-day Saints said it was the first ever meeting between a pope and the head of their church, and it said that the two men discussed religion, liberty, family, and youth, and among other topics. I'm sure they did talk about the youth. We have much in common, Nelson tweeted afterward. The differences in doctrine are real, and they're very important, but they're not clearly as important as the things we have in common. Such as what, the youth and liberty? Come on, give me a break. Nelson and the 14 elders who make up the leadership of the church, widely known as the Mormons, are in town for the dedication Sunday of their new temple. The lush complex features an oval-shaped marble house of worship, and whatever, doesn't really matter. The Latter-day Saints said the visit to Rome was the first time their entire leadership had gathered outside of the U.S. So we have Pope Francis meeting with the one of the grand imams. We have Pope Francis meeting with the leaders of the Mormon Church, the leader of the Mormon Church, who calls himself a prophet, by the way, which is a complete joke. He's a false prophet by every means of the definition. So what is Francis doing? Setting all these things in motion behind and in front of everybody's eyes. Setting up the one world religion is what he is doing. Somebody who has 1.2 billion followers, you can guarantee that number's larger now, will definitely be a player in the game in setting up a one world religion. Absolutely 100%. Why don't we just read Revelation 13 right now? Verses 11 through 15. It says, Then I saw another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb and spoke like a dragon. And he exercises all the authority of the first beast in his presence, and causes the earth and those who dwell in it to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. He performs great signs so that he even makes fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. And he deceives those who dwell on the earth by those signs which he was granted to do in the sight of the beast, telling those who dwell on the earth to make an image of the beast who was wounded by the sword and lived. He was granted power to give breath to the image of the beast, and that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. Now we know that worship alone is dedicated towards a god of some sort. Worshipping is when you give honor to a god. That's what worship is. Everybody will have to worship the image or the beast. Both will have to do both, or they're going to be killed. That's according to Revelation 13:15, and we know this will come to pass as all the other prophecies have come to pass. And as well as in 12, again, he just says that he exercises all the authority of the first beast in his presence and causes the earth and those who dwell on the earth to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed. So all the world will have to worship after this beast and their false one-world religion that they set up. And it's just being moved into play through this interfaith type of situations where they say, oh, we're all one, we all worship the same God. Very new age, just completely inaccurate according to what we know through the Bible. I mean, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. No one goes to the Father except through Jesus Christ. That's the only way to God, and that's the bottom line because that's what the Bible says. Now we have Pope Francis, who, by the way, they call the Holy Father, which is an absolute joke. And first off, let me remind people, in case they're unaware, that this imam that Francis is giving a kiss here on the lips to came out and said that he believes that people who fall away and defect from the Islamic faith should be murdered. The video's on YouTube. You can find it. He calls for the death of people who defect to Islam. That's that man's fruit. But we have the Vatican officially releasing a Chrislam logo for Pope Francis on his upcoming Servant of Hope tour to the Muslim nation of Morocco. This article, which I will leave below along with the other ones, says that the official logo of the Pope's visit was chosen from about 50 entries in a competition. An explanatory note accompanying the logo's release is that a cross and a crescent in the logo are symbols of Christianity and Islam, which highlight the interreligious relations between Christians and Muslims. In fact, during the 2-day trip, Pope Francis will meet the leader of the Moroccan Muslims 800 years after the meeting between Saint Francis of Assisi and the Sultan al-Malik al-Kamil of Egypt. So that's just the absolute joke that's going on. Now, if faiths get together and they want to discuss or at least say, hey, we can't be killing each other, because obviously that's not right, that makes sense. But to do something like put a cross and the crescent of Islam together, that's just an absolute blasphemy, and it's insanity. The fact that this would even go on is absolutely insane. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with meeting and just discussing, and what a real Christian would do would present the gospel to these people so he can hopefully lead them to Christ. But instead, we see the merging of the religions, saying that it's okay that we come together. We worship the same God. You believe this, I believe this, but it's all the same God. A complete new age nonsense lie, fulfilling the prophecies of Revelation 13. And so, yes, this image up on the screen with the cross and the crescent moon of Islam, that's the interfaith merging of Christianity, well, not even Christianity, of Catholicism and Islam together in one. That's what we're seeing being set up. I mean, Francis is doing a lot of work lately to try to merge Catholicism and Islam, as well as meeting behind closed doors and having secret meetings with the Mormon Church. He's setting up Revelation 13. You can guarantee with 1 point whatever billion people they've got right now, and Islam has over 2 billion, they're setting up Revelation 13. All will marvel after the beast, because all these people will already be working together, believing they follow the same God. And then when they find and believe that the Antichrist, when they believe that the Antichrist is God, then they will just give their allegiance to him. They're already working together, saying that they follow the same God, so it just won't be that big of a leap of a faith. It's just being set up right now before our very eyes. Francis is doing a lot of work here. And I found this interesting as well, and wanted to mention that on February 19th, 2018, that's when this article was published and updated, talking about a Hillsong Church conference in Phoenix called the Alpha Conference. This was in 2018. We're part of this supposedly Christian conference that Hillsong's supposed to be. A supposedly Christian, they're supposedly a Christian church and make Christian music, but we see many flaws in their theology and the things that they do and say. But they had a Catholic priest, and they put on a Catholic service at this Alpha conference. So we even see them trying to mix Catholicism in with Christianity. Now, I'm not going to bash Catholics because I know for a fact that there are some Catholics who are saved, but they're just led astray by the way that they were brought up, and they really need to just read their Bible and get out of that religion, especially with what Francis and all this is going on. It's just a shame that they're led astray because they were brought up in this thing, in this religion. It's a real shame. People need to come out of the Catholic Church, especially in this time that we're in, and be in a Christian church. And that's exactly what they're trying to do here, like at the Alpha Conference, is merge the two when they're completely separate. There's a huge list Catholics do that's totally against the Bible. They call the priests father. They call the Pope the Holy Father, which is absolute blasphemy. Jesus Christ would not stand for that, or even for them calling any of them father. The life of being celibate is for specific people. It's a specific gift. It's not meant for all of the priests who become Catholic to take part in that. And that's why you see all of these priests being pedophiles and preying on these kids in these churches. I mean, they do thing after thing. They worship idols. They pray to angels. They pray to Mary. They pray to all different things. When there's one mediator between God and man, the list goes on and on. But I thought that was worth noting as well. The fact that they would have a Catholic service at this supposedly Christian conference, it just makes no sense. It makes no sense unless you're looking at it through the eyes of Revelation 13, where all religions, they will come together and worship the beast and the image of the beast, and they're trying to get people on board with accepting it all right now. So when the Antichrist is on the scene, and the beast is on the scene, that it will not be that big of a leap of faith to worship his image and worship him. And just like we know what Daniel talked about, that the Antichrist will stand in the temple of God and declare himself to be God, and that is the abomination that causes desolation. So these things are just really being set up before our very eyes. Francis is making a lot of moves behind the scenes, talking with many different religions, and we see them trying to creep their way into supposedly Christian conferences, just trying to merge everything together into one lump of we all follow the same God. New Age lie, complete nonsense. Revelation 13 happening before our very eyes. I will leave you again with the quote from Robert Mueller, who's not the one involved in the U.S. in the current Russia investigation. He was the Assistant Secretary General. Let me just read you his bio here. It says, Robert Mueller was an international civil servant for the United Nations, serving with the UN for 40 years and rising to the rank of Assistant Secretary General. His ideas about world government, world peace, and spirituality led to the increased representation of religions in the UN, especially of the New Age movement. That is Robert Mueller, and I will leave you again with his quote. Quote, we have brought the world together as far as we can politically. To bring about a true world government, the world must be brought together through spirituality. What we need is a United Nations of religions. If that's not prophetic and that's not talking about the biblical end of days, I don't know what is. Absolutely unbelievable. If you're in the Catholic Church, I know that there is good people in there. It's time to get out. Get yourself in a Christian church. The Catholic Church does many things against the Bible. Time to get yourself into like a non-denominational Christian Bible-believing church, Baptist, whatever. Get yourself out of the Catholic Church. They're committing blasphemies, and they're setting up the one world religion, the United Nations of religions, before our very eyes. Thanks for watching. God bless.